Hi, I'm Trisha Morris at Club Scrap. Welcome to the Interactive Journal Workshop. I'm so excited to share this project with you, and it's also important for you to note that this is part 2 of this workshop. With the limited time that I had and the advanced nature of this project, I didn't want to be rushed. So part 1, the homework, involves simply trimming and scoring all of the pieces required to complete this beautiful journal. If you're having trouble accessing the link to the first portion of this workshop, if you purchase the kit of this, that will be provided to you, and you can reach out to us at info@clubscrap.com or give us a call for more information. So let's go ahead and take another peek at the finished project. The cover, as you can see here, is fully decorated, and the substrate of this is our amazing folding board in this gray color. It is available in black as well. And you'll be making this pocket here on the left side of the inner cover. And the straps with the hook and loop closures are super cool. And then you can slide out this beautiful folio that opens at the top and the bottom, and then the right and the left. So you've got all kinds of fun to be had here, and room for lots and lots of photos in that, depending on how much embellishing you do. And then you've got just a standard page, and then you have this cool full pocket page, another standard page, and then 2 half pocket pages that have trifold inserts that come out. So you can see that there's quite a bit of work that can go into this little book. And then the back is all of these nesting pockets. And this part of the workshop will be when we're going to put all of that together. To stay organized during that whole preparation process, I used my accordion pocket file. And this has 4 separate pockets so you can keep everything straight. Now, what I advised everyone to do if they had a long period of waiting between the prep and the final part of the project was just to put these pieces in envelopes or bags to free up your accordion pocket file for other projects. Plus, we also have a huge array of miscellaneous leftover pieces from the trimming, as well as our photo mats from the kit and the cut aparts as well. And those cut aparts really make quick work of decorating our finished book. Now we culminate here on page 4 to finish off the assembly, working with 1 pocket at a time. So enough of the introduction, let's get to work. I'm going to empty everything in pocket A and set that accordion pocket file aside. Now we have these folding board pieces. You can recognize them by their sturdy nature, and we've gone ahead and scored them carefully. Now, as a rule of thumb, I always explain that the bump of the score line goes on the inside of the fold, but there is an exception, and that's right now with the folding board. The bump of the score line on folding board goes on the outside of the fold, so it's a little confusing. It's kind of like I after E except after C situation. So here I have my folding board piece here, and I'm going to just make a crease in it to create a 90-degree section of this piece. I think the measurement of this is 6 by 8 inches. So there you go. That's really tough. Then we have this other piece of folding board, and I'm going to do the same thing. So here I have 2 score lines pretty close together. So I'm going to fold again gently. I don't want to tear any of the fibers, and that's again why I found that the bump of the score line being on the outside of the fold worked best in this particular situation. Then we have 1 more score line here, so I'm just going to gently fold. And basically I'm making 1/2 of the outside cover of this piece, okay? And then this is the other half, which will eventually hook onto this and then form our cover. Cool, right? Okay, so we have other pieces of folding board here. I'm gonna grab the shortest pieces that have vertical score lines. There are longer pieces that have these little score lines on them. We're going to set those aside for now, and let's make the side pocket of our cover. So again, keeping in mind that I'm going to put these bumps of the score lines on the outside of the folds, I'm going to go ahead and fold these little side hinges here. Bump on the outside. It's a habit. Okay, bump on the outside. And it folds so nice if you score well. Now, if you're finding that the score lines you made aren't working so hot, maybe you can go back and reinforce those with a couple extra passes. The score lines in the folding board are really important. I'm going to grab scissors and do a little bit of miter here. So I'm going to cut from the score line at an angle to the outer edge so that I'm just removing some of that paper to turn this into a nicer looking hinge so that there aren't any pieces of this corner sticking out and showing anywhere that we don't want it. All right, so I just made a bunch of little triangles, 8 to be exact. You can get rid of those little pieces. And the destination for these hinges is going to be basically on the outer edges here, so that this can fold on top and then form the sidewalls of that pocket. Hope that makes sense. So to apply them, I'm going to use our amazing bookbinding glue. I have this in a needle tip applicator, and I'm going to just kind of go along here and squiggle on some of this adhesive. You'll need if you're not using our bookbinding glue, you will need a really, really strong adhesive. Maybe an alternative might be score tape, if you have that. And I'm just gonna drop this down so that it's level with the edge of that folding board piece. I'm gonna rotate this so that I can have easier access and vision of what's happening here on this end. So I'll add some bookbinding glue to this little tab. And again, all that trimming was done earlier. Tons and tons of planning went into that task. And it doesn't take long for this glue to set up, which is fantastic. Okay, then I will go ahead and squiggle some onto these other tabs. I'm gonna do both of them, see how that goes. Okay. And close this on here and trap these tabs in between there. And make sure I have a nice squared off corner. And it's already starting to bond. That's really nice. Now, the next piece of folding board we're going to reach for are the pair of those straps. Now, I'm using a corner chomper, and this is completely optional. Anytime I reference corner chomper, and if you don't have one, don't worry about it. If you have a corner punch that's capable of getting through the folding board, great. If not, don't worry about it. Just let those corners be square. I'm going to use the 1/4 inch setting. In other words, the smaller radius turn rather than the larger radius. And the edge of this little piece furthest from the score lines, I'm going to round those corners. You can see how easily this works. So nice. Fold again on the score lines so that the bumps of the score here, in this situation only, are on the outside of the fold. Again, I found that it produces just a better fold. These are going to become the straps for our little side pocket here. Isn't that clever how those come together? We should probably find the right spot so that they are evenly spaced. I'm going to find 3/4 of an inch with my grid ruler here. That's 3 solid lines. And I'll use a pencil to sort of give myself a pencil mark here. I'm going to turn it around, and once again, 1, 2, 3 solid lines. Gives me a little guide. Now you want to make sure that as you adhere this tab to the piece, that it doesn't go into the gutter of that fold line. Really important. So I will add some of my bookbinding glue to this shorter tab, and I'm going to aim so that the edge of it is right with that mark, and then it's level, and that the score line isn't going into this gutter on the cover itself. Okay, to make it easier to see, I'm going to turn this around. I'll apply the glue to this tab. And once again, aim for that line. I think maybe if it's open, it's just like before. It's a little easier to see what you're doing. Make sure you're level. And you've got 2 nice flaps there for your left inside cover. Now in your pocket A, or your first pile of goods, you're going to find that there is this beautiful piece of silver white pearl paper. It's white pearl. I'm going to add, using just my regular adhesive, this is an ATG gun, I'll add adhesive to that, and it should fit right into this space. Look at that. How lovely. Now, I'm going to show you now at this point how I added this. In the finished book, I was able to add this because I didn't put any artwork or any printed paper in the spot where these hook and loop dots go. Okay, so I can show you how that works. And if you would rather wait to install these until you're sure what you have going there, that's fine too. Now you can decide how you want this. I would just be consistent. So maybe I'm going to put the fuzzy side on here and the hook side on here. So I'm going to take the back. These are already facing each other, And I'm going to peel off the backing from the hook, or the more harsh side of this pairing. And I'm just going to spot that right in the center of the strap. And then I'll look for the hook side here, remove the backing from that side only, and attach it in the same spot, center of the strap. I will peel off that backing of the loop side of the hook and loop dot. We carry these in big sheets so you can have them for tons and tons of projects. They're really nice to have on hand for closures. They're probably, to me, one of the easiest closures you can have in any kind of a book. Now we have this other back cover here, and I want to marry these two to complete my little book cover here. So the best way to do that, I think, is to apply the glue to this section. And what I like about this is that will give us a double thickness of the folding board at the spine, thus making it a really nice, strong spine. It's good to have strong spine, strong back. And I will marry these up. So I'm just laying this right on top. Give it a little burnish and flip it over, check to make sure your alignment on the outside is good. Looks perfect to me. Now in your A pocket, you also have, in that same white pearl paper, you have some hinges, and we can go ahead and fold. This time we'll bury the bump, okay? Bury the bump of the score line, because this is just a regular sheet of paper, so we're gonna follow our normal rules, basically. So let's get in there. And then I'll do the same thing for the second piece. And we're gonna do something really fun with these hinges. So on one of these hinges, I want you to just place it like this. And then from the upper corner, let's take out about 1/2 inch from this side of the hinge and remove it like so, right up to the line, the score line. The other hinge, we're gonna leave this left side whole, and the right flap of that hinge, I'm gonna miter, just like we did before when we were making those side hinges for the pocket here. So I just cut from the score line out to the edge at an angle. Next, I want to remove about 1/2 inch from the center of this flap. So I like to find the center actually with my grid ruler. So the hinge is 8 inches wide. Using my grid ruler on the 0 center side of it, notice how it says 0 right here. It'll say 4 here and 4 here. And then I want to take out 1/2 inch from each, or 1/4 inch from each side of the 0. So there's my 0, 1/4 inch that way, 1/4 inch that way. That's going to total 1/2 inch. All right, so watch how we do this. So easy. In fact, I'll make a line so you can see. I'm going to cut at an angle from here to here, and from there to there, and then along that score line. And that's going to give me 2 tabs. That's what I'm looking for on this second hinge. So I'm angling in to the hinge, to the score line rather, angling in, and I got this little guy. I'm just going to remove him. I'm going to go from the back here and just get rid of that shape. And there is a diagram in your instructions as well. This is located on page 4. It's figure C. That's basically a diagram of what we just did. We're going to start out with this hinge 2 that we made with the big cutout through the middle. Let's begin with that one. And we're going to install this from the right edge of the spine. So this is the back cover, about 1/8 of an inch from that score line, 1/8 of an inch to the left of that score line here. Okay, that's about 1/8 of an inch away from the right edge of the spine. And you'll notice that the height of the hinge is the same as the height of the book. Now, I'm just going to apply adhesive to this middle scored area. We've done this before. If you've ever made any of my hinge-bound books, you'll notice this is a nice, easy way to install pages. And it goes quickly, and it's also very sturdy. The space of that hinge in the middle there allows for a lot of dimension to be added to your pages, which is also an advantage in my book. I like to add things that, you know, have a little height to them. Now this next hinge gets placed about 1/4 of an inch from the first one. You want to put your ruler there. 1/4 inch goes from one solid line to the next solid line. And remember, that little opening is here, and it's going to be placed here. Okay, you want it at the top. So what I'm going to do is flatten this, flip it, and add the adhesive, just like I did before, to the scored area in the center of the hinge. Flip it back over, and shooting for a 1/4 inch away. And check to make sure it's nice and straight in there, nice and level. You don't want your pages flying out in the wrong, past the top edge of the book. If you install this in here real crooked, that's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give it a second to let it bond. And now I will open that first flap and push again to burnish the center area of the hinge onto the spine. And then carefully, ever so carefully, there we go. Now, as far as the front cover goes, let's close this. We should have 2 pieces of paper remaining, and I'm going to choose this one for the front cover. And if you're substituting with, your own kit, hopefully you have a nicely trimmed piece of paper that's going to look great on the cover. And as you're trimming, your own collection, you might want to make considerations about how you create these 2 pieces for the cover. It's so beautiful, isn't it? Then for the back, I'm going to go with this gorgeous iris. Now, you might not be aware, but this is Club Scrap's page kit from June of 2024, which incidentally is our 25th anniversary of monthly kits. So it's 25 years of kits. And we called it Kit 301, because it's our 301st month in business as Club Scrap, which is pretty cool. And incredibly, sometimes people haven't even heard of us yet. So we're still on a mission to make sure everyone knows about Club Scrap and kind of how we do things over here, using math and creativity to help you be efficient and successful, teaching you projects, even if they're complicated, step by step. Looks like we've wrapped up pocket A. Carefully empty everything from pocket B. Now in that pocket, you have 2 larger prints. These are measured 8 by 10, and they have been scored, and they're not scored through the center. So if I bury the bump of the score line, you're gonna see a little reveal. And you have another one like it. I'm gonna fold that one as well. Get that bump of the score line on the inside of the fold. This is completely optional again, but I'm gonna come in and just out of enjoyment of this, I'm going to round the outside corners of this, and that prevents it kind of a dog-eared corner. If this gets handled a lot, the rounding sort of helps avoid any damaged corners, as this is going to get a lot of love and attention. Now we have to decide which page we want to start out in our book, our first hinge. So I did it this way the other time. I don't know, I could do it this way. Let's do it some way different, okay? So I'm gonna add this numbers print to the inside first page. I hope that doesn't irritate you, that I'm just going off on my own spin. That's what you should be doing too. So I'm going to apply glue to the front side of this first hinge. Just like to swiggle it on from that needle tip applicator. Then I'm gonna take the page that has the reveal side. Okay, so this little white side should be facing up, and I'm gonna lay it on top of the hinge and make sure it aligns at the top and bottom edge. And then along the left edge, giving it just a little bit of air. I don't want it too tight to the side of the hinge there. And take a moment to press that into place. Oh, the reason I told you all about this, about the anniversary month, was because the iris is actually a symbol of the 25th anniversary. So that's why we included the iris on our beautiful collection here. I love how that turned out. Oh, we want to give this just a little more time to bond. This other page, we're going to have it set aside for just a little bit while we add our pocket page to this uniquely prepared hinge with the open square at the top. So now I'm going to have you look for the largest piece that's been scored that remains and fold along those score lines. So there's this little tab here. I'll fold up on that and give that a nice score here. And then the same on that long fold through the center. And you can see right away that we created a kind of a pocket, but it doesn't have a sidewall. That's okay, we got plans. I will take my bookbinding glue and I'm going to add glue to this little tab and add that by closing. Now at this point, if you want to add a little bit of a thumb hole, you can use a circle punch to cut a little notch through the center. Another option is if you happen to have this, I have an envelope punch board. So what I need to do here is determine the center of the piece. It's going to be 2 7/8. From each edge is the center, 2 7/8. So if I put this in my envelope punch board, again, this is the top edge at 2 7/8. That should give me a little cute slot in here for that in the center, and it goes through both sides. How clever is that? So if you have an envelope punch board, it's kind of a fun little use for it. So we've got this open side of the pocket, and that's actually going to wrap itself around that other hinge that we made. And again, that's why we removed that upper side of this paper. The best way I found to install this pocket page is to run some of this adhesive along that open wall. This is why I like using a liquid glue in this situation. And then just close and tap. And that is going to transfer the adhesive. You don't want it to stick, but it's transferring the adhesive to the other side of that pocket as well. Okay, so now you can see this, and I'm going to thread it onto the hinge. Make sure you just have that one hinge. How cool is that? Our pocket page is installed. Next we have in this beautiful metallic silver, we have the center or the mat for the front side of this pocket. And we want it to also have that same notch. So let's find out what the measurement of that is. 2 3/4. That's going to be the center of this. So at that measurement, I'll grab my envelope punch board here, find 2 3/4 on that measurement, and pop a little notch in there. And looks like that will nest beautifully into that spot. I'll add my adhesive. Since this is a text weight metallic, I'm not going to use the liquid. I'll use a dry adhesive for this to have a nice bond. And center that on there. Next, you're going to find a item that slides down into this pocket, and it's the white pearl. Let me give you the measurement of that. Is going to be 5 by 8. And I'm going to take my corner chomper again on the 1/4 inch setting and just round the top corners of this, and it slides right into that top pocket. Fits perfect. I'm turning the page now. Remember, we set aside that other inside page, just your standard single fold with the graduated edge here. So this time on this full hinge, this is hinge number 3, and we're almost done because hinge number 4 is coming up. I'll squiggle my bookbinding glue there and place the page in its home. And again, giving it just a little bit of air between the edge of the fold and the edge of that score line of the hinge. I hope all that geography makes sense. That's a lot of words. And make sure you just give it a second for this to cure. Okay, so that's number 3, very easy. When we get to these other half pocket pages, I don't want you to fold on the short tab on this section. I went ahead and did that and I forgot I wasn't supposed to, so don't be like me. We're going to come in with our corner chomper again, and I will round those corners on the 1/4 inch setting. Okay, and then I guess you'll want to close this too. And again, you're only folding on the middle and on the end tab, not on this shorty tab at the top here. Okay, so now I have this rounded corner. That's sweet. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to fold over that short tab on the end and add my adhesive here and close it to form like a circle, basically, a sandwich like this. Okay, and then you're going to repeat that on that other pocket page. All right, we have 2 pockets now ready for installation. So cool how this works, very similar to how the other one worked. We are going to apply, now this is the top, it has that little lip on it, and we're going to apply glue here at the bottom of the pocket. like so, and then kiss it to transfer the glue to the other side, just like we did before in that last pocket page. Now I'm going to install this so that this flap is on the back, and then I'm lining up the pocket page kind of with the top edge of this cover. And again, you can see there's like a little access here now. It looks like a coin envelope almost. I'm going to repeat this with the second envelope, which will kind of sit behind. Okay, you'll see what I mean. So I'll add the adhesive here, give it a little kiss. Make sure this is situated with the flap in the back. And notice it's going to overlap a little bit. Like, do you see how this overlaps that? Pocket one, pocket two. Give that a little pressure. Look, you've arrived at the back of your book. Isn't that great? We have a few more things in this pile yet, though. These printed panels, we can do these next if you want. Those go on the back of the pocket, but they need their corners rounded. So I'm going to do that. 1/4 inch setting, just 2 of the corners. And I'll do this one this way. All right, I'm going to use my bookbinding glue to adhere these pockets, mats, whatever you want to call them, on the back. And that's going to cover up my error in the fold there, that extra fold I made that I wasn't supposed to. Make sure my rounded corners correspond. Oh, this is so beautiful. I have mats for the front side too. These don't need to be rounded. And you can see again, the math has been done for you to make this this process as painless as possible. I suffered the pain so that you could enjoy the gain. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna do the same with this other silver mat, centering onto the front side of the pocket. So pretty. Now we have these scored strips of print. I'm going to bury the bumps of the score lines. Again, it won't be even. It'll be this little flap here. And get this other one. At this point, if you want, and I'm going to round the corners, outside corners of these pieces as well. I just think it adds a little extra, a little something pretty that doesn't take any effort. Okay, so these pieces you can add however you want, like so that it's a single up here, that white is exposed, and you can see a little bit of the print that we can grab onto that and pull it out. And I believe that's the end of pocket B. Now we have C to work on. Now this step is completely optional, but once again, you can add some notches that like act as little thumb holes. That can be done with a circle punch or a notch punch, like this envelope punch board is like a really good option for that. So to find the center, I'm going to use my grid ruler once again, my rusty, trusty grid ruler. Let's get a feel for the center measurement here. Looks like 3 3/8 will be our center. Looks like 3 3/8 will be our center. Are you okay with that? If not, skip this step. So 3 going left, there's 3 3/8 is actually marked. Now here, because of the way these pieces are prepared, make sure you have your short scores at left and right, and then the 1 inch score at the bottom. And there you go. I'll do this one, 3 3/8. Make sure the scores are kind of U-shaped. This one's just like before, 3 3/8 and 3 3/8. So that 1 inch score line is kind of at the bottom of each of these. And then you have these little shorties. Now I'm going to just fold on the shorties only. Leave that one not folded. I actually remembered to tell you that this time, so yay. All right, folding over the short edges to make little tabs. And then this last one. Okay. Now you have this piece that's wider. I'm gonna fold on all 3 edges on this one. 1, 2, 3. And this is going to make a really cool stacked pocket situation on the back of your book. Now the way we're going to do this is install this larger piece first. After it's folded, the height is 2.5 inches on this. All right. Now, when you are tucking in tabs, always make sure the side tabs go in first, followed by the bottom tab. If the bottom tab goes in first, anything you slide into the pocket is going to catch on that lip. It's already a little bit catchy to begin with. All right. So I'm going to maybe just add a little bit of adhesive here in those corners, and then I'm going to add it to the tab in that U shape, and it's going to be placed on the back cover near the bottom, centered left, right, and match the margin at the bottom. That gives me 1/8 of an inch on each edge. Okay, make sure it's level. So 1/8 inch here, 1/8 inch here, and 1/8 inch from the bottom edge. It's gonna look so good, okay? Because this is foundational. We're going to be adding pockets to this in a really super clever way. You're gonna love it. Now this next pocket has these 2 tabs on the side. We're gonna add adhesive to them, and we're gonna insert the lip of this into the previously attached pocket. Like that. So cool. So don't fold in on this 1 inch area. Adding adhesive to the 1/2 inch flap. Slide it into the previous pocket and stop when you see that score line kind of level with it. Push down to adhere the side tabs. So cool. And repeat for the next one. And burnish till it stays. There we go. And our last. I didn't miter as close to this corner as I need to. It's kind of sticking out. I'm just going to go ahead and repair that. And I'm leaving this in because I want you to know that you can do that too if you need to. Next up, the last pieces of pocket C include these random sized pieces. Let's arrange them. Find this place where the width is all the same. And when you do, all the matching widths, there's short, medium, tall, and tallest, all the same. If you want, you can grab your corner chomper, and I can just chomp the top corners of all of these pieces. And again, it just refines the look. It's not required, but it really adds, to me, it just adds a nice finishing touch. Smallest one is going to slide down into this pocket. Then the next largest, and it's shearing, it's going down to the bottom, okay? The first time you load these, sometimes it can be a little stubborn. And then our last one. And the last one's in there with a little bit reveal at the top. You might have to just struggle a little bit at first, but once this kind of gets all opened up in here, it's really gonna work out cool. All right, the book is looking like it's almost done, but we still have pocket D. Let's see what's in there. Empty everything from D, and that is actually the folio that folds out that gets stuffed into that side pocket. So we've got some black paper that's been scored. Now, do you see this sheet? This large piece of black has 2 score lines that are really, really close together. They happen to be 1/8 of an inch apart, which is the same height, or the same width rather, of our grid ruler. So if you just simply wrap this around the grid ruler, you can make that nice 1/8 inch fold very easily with this piece of black. There's another piece of black that's same height as the previous with the same type of score lines. I'm going to do the same thing here on those 2 neighboring score lines. Just wrap it around the ruler, and like, you're in good shape. It's quick, easy, and gives you the exact width of the fold that we're looking for, 1/8 of an inch. Okay, then you have 2 other sheets of black that are, the score lines are further apart. That's by design, okay? And these are easier to make, or you can fold them around 2 stacked rulers if you want. I've done that. And then the other pieces are not scored, so don't worry about those quite yet. If you're in the mood, you can take your corner chopper. I'm rounding just the outside corners. This is all going to be adhered like this. And then the outside of these flaps as well. You could do this after the book is finished too, the folio, but now is good as well. Okay, so basically you're going to do middle section here. This tab needs some adhesive so that we can add it to this to make the right wing of our folio. So I will apply adhesive to this. And then line it up. I'm going to kind of just lay it flat so I can see what I'm doing. Again, that's the nice part about working with liquid glue is you can make adjustments as needed. Now this needs to be attached here, so maybe I'm going to go this route. So I will apply the adhesive to the little tab as I did before. Flip it over and line up those edges. I'm kind of going to make sure that that score line is below the edge of the paper because I want the sides to go in first and the bottom and top to come on up. Keeping that in mind, I'm just going to flip the whole thing around so I can see what I'm doing. Apply the adhesive to this last flap and add it between the innermost score lines. Also making sure I'm a little past the edge so I can fold in the, oh, it looks like I had a little excess. Not to worry, that'll be covered. Okay, good. So with my folio completed, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go right, left, bottom, top. That's my folio. And I have all these extra panels. So I'm going to just test fit. This will work, but I do need to round these 2 bottom corners. So before you adhere anything, make sure the rounded corners match, right? Use your favorite adhesive to nest these. I'll add this to the top flap. Fits perfectly. Open it. Now these corners need to be rounded. Notice just 2 of the corners. I'll use my favorite adhesive again. And I chose to put this on the outside, not the inside of these flaps. Next up, I need to find the flap that's going to be the correct width to go here. It's a little hard to see because it's black, isn't it? But it's no contrast. So therefore, I'm going to open this up so I can see. I'll use my dry adhesive for this text weight paper. Match up my rounded corners. Okay, and then I should have one larger for the inside. Should really just cover everything so nicely, all your seams. And then one more smaller for this flap, which I'll round those 2 corners. Yep, and I will apply this here. Okay, this is covered. Boom, 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 boom. So nice. I'll bring my book back into the scene here and open my tabs, which hopefully I've cured really nicely by now. And this should slide right into the pocket that we made right at the beginning of this class. And now your book is ready for all of your creative imagination. Now remember, during the first phase of this workshop, we prepared all of our cut aparts. We have in our kit, we have photo mats. We have these die cut numbers, which are really fun to use. A whole pile of cut aparts. Now these have artwork, sentiments, journaling prompts, border strips, everything you need to decorate. Be mindful, do you want to put something maybe on the spine of the book? What I suggest is that you start by choosing what goes on the outside of the book first so that it's decorated. It doesn't have to be plain if you address that right away. You have more folding board that you can work with. I put some folding board on my tri-folded pieces. And then you have all these other plain pieces you can use to decorate. I chose to decorate my flaps with some of the printed materials and finish each one with a button that came right in the kit. So again, there's a lot that you can do here with these embellishments. Let's take a quick tour of the book with all the embellishments that I made prior to this workshop so you can see how it turned out. So right away at the beginning of the book, I have my sentiment for the front, and I matted it with just one of these perforated cut aparts, which happened to fit perfectly. And I even matted that onto some of the white pearl paper. Then on the inside there, you can see my buttons. I just glued them on after I added some thread to them. And I decorated my folio pretty thoroughly with a circle and then a gray circle nesting using one of my die cuts. One of a kind. Here's a beautiful nested mat on the front. And I just use other random pieces, photo mats, all kinds of nested things in here to finish this off beautifully. Again, to go through every last little embellishment really isn't necessary. You can just follow your creative whim at this point. This is the fun part, and I call it gilding a lily. It's so fun. And then today, here I used a strip. Today was 1 in 10 billion, I think. One of the velvet pockets included in the kit holds a tag perfectly. 2 photo mats, some strips, and some tags with stapled ribbon. Another photo mat here. You're writing the story of your life, and you have your insert. Another velvet pouch with a tag insert, decorative on top, one of the die cut numbers. Photo mat, photo mat, photo mat. Here's the infinity charm with some ribbon. Here, if I open this, I was able to use the scrap of folding board to add some stability to the tri-folded inserts. Another number, and I even slid numbers into these little pockets here in the back. Now, I wouldn't be a Club Scrap workshop if I didn't stress to you the fact that you can recycle your instructions to make even more fun projects. So I took our craft folding board, and I took the Under the Sea Remix collection that was just released recently, and I created a super fun book, again, complete with the folio. A whale of a good time. It was a whale of a good time, using the die cut shells in the collection for a fun flap. You can see how the folio was all decorated. Oh, I just have a great time doing this. I can't wait to do another one with more themes. Any page kit now, you just substitute very carefully, plan ahead of time where your prints and plans are gonna go. There's your inside pocket. I mean, this is just really fabulous. My colleague Karen also made one with the Woodland remix that was just released. Isn't it just lovely? Again, the straps I think are so cute. She's got all kinds of neat decor on the inside of the folio. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, I love it. I love all of the variation on the theme, and then how neat of a gift this will be when you can hand it off to somebody who maybe doesn't scrapbook, whereas all they have to do is add their photos, or maybe you add photos for them. It's going to really be a treasured gift if you can part with it. Well, once again, I want to thank you for joining me for this workshop. If you really like this project, come and consider joining us as a member at Club Scrap. Every month we release a page kit and a card kit. The page kits make 8 layouts, the card kits make 12 cards, including the envelopes, and we follow the same type of procedure of trimming and assembling. It'll go much quicker, I promise. It's a really good time. We'd love to have you give us a try. It's completely risk-free, and we'd be honored to welcome you as a member of the Club Scrap family. A special thanks to Kate at Volume Events for sponsoring another great workshop time. I hope you